What's up, you filthy fight fans? We're back at it again. Another fight talk. So much to go over. But before we hop into all that, I got to hit you with that housekeeping. If this is your first time here, guys, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and do me a favor. Mash that like button so we can beat this YouTube algorithm and we can get the filthy report out there so everybody can start talking about fight talk. Now, with all that out the way, guys, I know I would normally start off with how I started off with the fights and the breakdown, but I want to leave the Aljo and Peter Yan fight last and jump into, of course, that co-main event of Megan Anderson versus Amanda Nunes. Now, guys, what can we say about Amanda Nunes but just her unbelievable relentlessness of just showing that she has pure dominance and power in her hands. Her game is above a ton of women in the division. She is pretty much the greatest champion, and I understand that you would have to throw Cyborg in there too because of the longevity at Cyborg, but just seeing what Amanda has been able to do in the last couple of years, holding the 135-pound title and also holding the 145-pound title, and just dominating both divisions. There hasn't been a girl that's come along to show that they can be able to dominate her or cause her any problems. The only one that came to that bar would have to be Valentina Shlemenko, but we all understand her best weight class is going to be 125. Now, would you want to see a rematch between Valentina Shlemenko and Amanda Nunes again? I wouldn't mind it. I understand Amanda's beat her twice, but it is what it is. I just think those are the two top females in the division right now. No, let's not discredit Megan Anderson. She did come out to fight. She came out like she was ready to really go at it. It's just, it is a different kind of feeling to understand the type of fighter you're stepping into the cage with when you're stepping in there with Amanda Nunes, and she puts that power on you and that speed on you. And Megan basically kind of crumbled at that point, and she wasn't able to deal with Amanda, and Amanda got her to the floor, and Amanda ended up having her way on the floor and locking up a reverse triangle with an arm bar. Now, you guys have to understand, that's never been done in the UFC. It's a very extreme technique to try to actually pull off unless you're really sure that you're locked and secured in with that lock. But there you go. You have to admit, Amanda Nunes is just one of the best in the world. I think she's pretty much showing that she has more dominance in that she's just not just a dominant women's champion and a dominant women's MMA fighter, that she's just a dominant MMA fighter. Now, where do we go from here? Not sure. There's not that much depth in the 145 division. They don't really have a solid clad 145 division in the UFC. Most of the 145ers, I have to admit, are over at Bellator. That is where they literally have the decent sized division. And understand that's not, they might have like 3 to 4 more people than the UFC. It's a really hard weight class to fill up. There's a couple of options out there that they could do. Maybe they can reach out to the PFL and try to get Kayla Harrison over and see if they can get that matched up between her and Amanda Nunes. I mean, she's been fighting at 145. She probably needs a few more fights, and then we could see how she can get in there with Amanda Nunes. Other than that, the only other fight I would say would be Chris Cyborg, and we all understand that Chris Cyborg is at Bellator, so it's not a match that's pretty much not going to happen. So we'll have to see how it goes. With Megan, it's sad to say that was her last fight on her contract. Do you see her re-signing? I'm not really sure. I wouldn't be surprised if she goes and signs with Bellator once again, because that's where the real more longevity of a 145 division is. All right, guys, and with that out the way, we have to jump into this main event fight and talk about Israel Adesanya versus Jan Blachowicz. Now, guys, there's a lot of questions that got answered in this fight, and I have to admit that by saying this, it did not go the way that I even thought it would go, and it shored up a lot of questions about, is it possible for Israel Adesanya to go up and fight in heavyweight? Is it possible for Israel Adesanya to fight Jon Jones and actually get a win off of Jon Jones? Now, to answer you guys' questions, I'm starting to believe Israel Adesanya probably wouldn't have the technical skills to be able to take out Jon Jones. Now, that's just from me saying, just from the way he went up with this fight. Now, do we see Izzy take off some time, build up his weight, get up into a actual size for 205? Then I would change my idea and thought process of thinking that maybe there is a challenge there. There may be some kind of opportunity there for him to be able to take out Jon. Now, with his fight versus Jan, you see that Izzy does have some some speed, but he's not as fast as he is in 185. His power doesn't transfer as good as it could from 185 if he would have put on a little bit more muscle mass. Jan did say that he did have some power. It was a little bit unexpected than what he thought the power was going to be like. And also he said that Izzy seemed like he was a little bit slower than he actually thought he was going to be. And as the rounds persisted, it slowed down, which gave Jan the opportunity to do the takedowns in the 4th and 5th round. Now with Izzy, I just think he seemed kind of off there. He wasn't able to really get back up off of the ground, and I would have to say that would probably be the 20 to 30 pounds difference that Jan had on him. Yes, I get it that it is 205, but you guys have to also understand they just cut down to 205. Once they walk into that cage, I guarantee you those guys are at least at 220, 225, at the most 230 if they do their weight cut extremely good and they understand how they get their weight back up. Now, other than that, I don't see Izzy coming back to 205 anytime soon. I think he's just going to focus back on and go back down and get that, hold on to that 185 strap. They're probably going to let it work through and all that to see who's going to be the next challenger. I mean, we got Paul Costa and Robert Whitaker fighting next month. So we'll see how that goes on. I think it's going to be April 17th. But other than that, guys, Jan, we already know what's going on with Jan. He's going to be fighting Glover Teixeira. I think that's a really good matchup. And it's funny, I just came on here and told you guys we shouldn't count out Błachowicz. But it's just the kind of style that Glover has and the kind of style of fight that Glover creates while he's in that cage is a really good opportunity for him to be able to snatch that belt away from Jan. Now, the other thing is this. If Jan plays into Glover's fighting style, then yeah, I can see him getting that belt taken away. But also, if Jan is able to touch Glover once, I wouldn't be surprised if he puts Glover out. We'll see how that fight goes when that fight gets built and starts getting put together. We'll get more and break down into more of that when I can get a little bit more opportunity to see where they're going to go with this. Now, we have to talk about the biggest thing that happened on the card, and it's just an amazement to see how this card went down. It was a really good card, stacked card, a lot of good names on it, a lot of good fights on it. Also a shout out to Dominic Cruz. Don't want to forget about doing that one for him. And Shane Brady. That kid's going to be something at welterweight. Can't wait to see where they put him next. But other than that, just to step into this kind of talk about this. First off, I'm going to say this right now, guys. Do I feel that it was wrong for how Aljamain Sterling ended up getting the belt? I'm sitting on the fence about it a little bit, but I do feel it was right for him to get the belt, but at the same time, I think that rule needs to be discussed a little bit more because it was a complete craziness. Now, you guys have to admit that Peter Yan literally sat there for a minute thinking about if he should knee him or not knee him, and it did seem like the knee was intentional. I don't know what to say about how Alja was fighting, really. It seemed like he had a decent game plan, but it seemed like he was just frantic and started having fatigue because the adrenaline dump and everything. I think it was just all the emotion of so hard trying to get this fight and then able to get the fight, and then the next thing having the fight start to slip out of his hands. Now, that first round when he first started and with all of his pressure pushing Peter Yan on his back foot and just making him cover up in clamshell, Alja was doing really good. Now, if he could have kept that pace and be able to throw the kicks and keep coming at all these odd angles and creating all those opportunities for him to throw really weird shots, then I think that the fight would have went completely different. But as we saw, as we got into the second round, you just see Aljo start to slip a little bit more and more. He wasn't keeping his balance. He was rushing all of his takedowns. And as we see, like as we get into the second round, you just see that Aljo just started continuously rushing his movements, started slipping and falling. losing his angles and ending up back on the floor. And you see that Peter Yan didn't want to even try to play with him on the floor. It just seemed that he was very frantic and just in a rush. He was wanting to get Peter Yan out of there quickly, and he was finding out that he wasn't able to do that, and then leading all the way up into where basically ending up on the floor and ending up on the ground and getting kneed in the head. Now, for everybody that's out there screaming that, oh my God, he didn't get hit by the knee, dude, you guys have to understand. There's glimpses on that area where you could see his head get hit. I don't know. I'm not gonna like completely sit here and defend it. But I have to admit this: if he was concussed and he was rocked and he didn't know what was going on, I feel like the ref made the correct decision. It was right to call the fight. I don't think anybody ever wants to win a fight like that. It was super disgusting. I think Aljo handled it the best way he could. My first thing was thinking that, dude, your best option is just to throw that belt off and say you don't even want it. He wasn't doing too well. He was still kind of loopy in the head. And get me, guys, I see a lot of people giving him hate, giving his team hate and all this. But come on, man. Seriously, do you think everybody's not going to push for him? He got the belt, which means he is able to get the perks and all that. No, it's not the way he wanted it, but he is the champion, and there's nothing you guys can do about it except for complain to the commission. Like I said before at the beginning of this, I really feel like that rule should be changed some way. So, like, the only way Ray Longo said it on the John Anik and Kenny Florian podcast. I feel it's the better decision to do it exactly like what Ray Longo said. If you're up on the cards, which we all know that Aljamain Sterling was not up on the cards, which made it even suckier for him to get the down belt. But if you're up on the cards, I feel like the belt should end up going to you. If you're not, then I feel like the belt it becomes a disqualification and the belt is vacated, and the UFC has to make a decision on how they want to handle the belt situation. Do you give the ex-champion an opportunity to fight for the belt again, or do you run a rematch between these two and have them fight for the belt? Right now, I'm liking that they're both on the same page and everybody's saying, let's get to it. Let's get this rematch booked and let's see what we can do. Now, the one thing that I like that everybody's trying to rush and get it started and all that, but I will say this: with Aljamain Sterling, I see him at least being out for like at least 90 days. So if he's on suspension for 90 days, the next thing we know, that fight probably won't be happening till maybe ending of summer, beginning of fall. We'll see. Hopefully it gets booked soon. I really hate how this situation ended up. I hated how that fight ended. I just think there was a lack in communication between the camp and the fighter. But at the same rate, you have to say it is really on Peter Yan. I mean, if you've been a fighter for a long time, you pretty much know you cannot knee a down opponent. So my question for you guys is this: how would you guys have handled that situation? And also this: how would you change the rule? Do you think knees to a down opponent should be allowed, so we basically get rid of this problem and people have to learn how to defend and they have to learn that they can't just sit there, they have to keep on the movement? Or do we keep the rules the same and we change the rule with how the disqualifications are? Let me know. Hit me up in the comments. Hit me up on my IG. Hit me up on my Facebook, my TikTok, or hit me up in the comments right here on YouTube and let me know what you guys are thinking about, how you guys feel about the situation. I really want to hear everybody's comments because just a crazy thing. This is the first time it's ever happened that a champion becomes off of a DQ. I can't wait. I hope that this match doesn't get messed up and that they do the rematch. I don't know what else is going to happen with Jan's camp and all that. We'll see. But other than that, guys, the only other thing I got for you guys right now is the breakdown for this next fight night. So let's get on to that. All right, guys, let's get to this UFC Fight Night breakdown. It's going to be Leon Edwards versus Bela Mumhamad. Now, I have to first off give props out to Bela Mumhamad for stepping up and being able to take this short notice fight against the number 2 ranked welterweight in the UFC. This is going to be an extreme barn burner kind of fight, but We all know this fight got made off of the back of Hamzat Chimaev having to pull out, and hopefully he gets healed up and able to get back into the cage soon. I would like to see where he's going to get to in the next year or two. Other than that, guys, let's get into this fight card. But before we get to that main event, I got to start off with talking about Ben Roethlisberger versus Felipe Lean. Now, this is going to be one of those normal heavyweight matchups where it's a new up-and-comer coming on to take on one of the vets. Now, the way I see this fight playing out, I see Ben trying to get some kind of win out of here. He's either going to be looking for a takedown to get a submission, or he's going to be looking out for that knockout. He's coming off of losing his last match. He didn't look great in his last match, which he was fighting against, I think, Marcin Tybura, and just didn't go his way. Wasn't a really good fight. It seemed like Ben was really fighting just not finding his normal style. So I'm hoping we're going to get him putting on some pace against this Felipe Lean. Now, with Felipe Lean, he is a nasty, nasty style kind of boxer, kickboxer. I think he's going to be having some really decent footwork. He's going to be able to move around and try to push a pace to stay in front of Ben Roethlisberger the whole time. Who do I pick in the fight? I'm sorry to say this because it's not somebody you really want to cut out. I'm pretty much going to be leaning with Felipe Lean, and that is just because it seems that Ben's been off for a while now since he literally got the hiccup of getting caught with PEDs. We'll see how it plays out for him. I really do hope he's able to come back and chase after that belt again, but I'm going to have to go with Felipe in this one. Now, moving on to the co-main event. Co-main event is a phenomenal co-main event. It's going to be Misha Cirkunov versus Ryan the Superman Spann. Now, I have to say Misha Cirkunov has been, he's sort of like a vet. He's been there for a minute, and he's quietly just coming in and wrecking the division. It seems that he just needs a little bit more of a push, and I think this could be that little push that he needs to start being able to challenge at the top of the 5 of the division. We'll see how it goes. But don't discredit Ryan Superman Spann. He is a phenomenal fighter. He had a little bit of a hiccup with Johnny Walker, but before that, he was on a roll. Really, really good footwork, really fast hands. Isn't a slouch on the ground either. Will take it to the ground if he has to, but he's going to be putting his style to the test this time. Misha Cirkunov is not a joke. He's a really good wrestler. Likes to grind you out and try to ground and pound you out. If not, he's looking to throw them hands and get you out of there as quickly as he can. Now, who I'm going to be taking in this fight? I'm pretty much going to be going with Misha. I think this could be a breakout fight for him. Hopefully, he's going to be able to get it done. And if Misha's going to be the one winning, I see a second round TKO. And with that, got to get to the main event. And of course, I have to talk about Leon Edwards versus Bela Mumhamad. Now, a lot of questions to be asked here, because if you guys don't realize, the last time we saw Leon was, I want to say, almost 2 years. It's been like a year and a half. Is there ring rust with Leon? Is he going to be able to handle the type of fight that Bela Mumhamad puts on people? Bela is one of those people that always comes forward. He never takes a step back, is always pushing the pace, does not give you a break in a moment. He's kind of gives me a resemblance of how Kobe Covington likes to put that pace on you. He's always throwing a ton of shots, is always trying to get you up against the cage and trying to wrestle with you, get you down to the floor, ground and pound you, and he'll let you get back up if you want to, but he's just going to keep tiring you out. He uses cardio as his technique and his skill to basically just drag you into deep waters to where you're just getting smothered and you feel like you're drowning until you're about to break, and then he's able to lock on a submission or put you out with some hands. But understand, it's been a long time I've seen anybody try to put a pace like that on Leon Edwards. And Leon Edwards is not a joke. He has phenomenal cardio. His hands are really good kickboxing. It's pretty much an all-around fighter. I still think he should be fighting for the title right now. I understand he has been beaten by Kamaru Usman before, but that was before Kamaru was ever the champion. It was one of Kamaru's first fights. So we'll see how it goes. But I think if he can get the job done here against Belal, he'll be able to get there and get to that title shot, and we'll be seeing him facing Kamaru Usman next, hopefully. Now, who am I picking in this fight? I would like to pick Belal, but I'm gonna have to go with Leon. I don't think the ring rust is really going to be a problem for him. I really think he's going to be able to push a pace on Belal and be able to get him on the floor and trick him into basically keeping it into a stand-up match. And then next thing you know, he's going to be able to get him with that head kick. Now, guys, that is all I got for the fights this week. I do have a little bit of fight news. A couple of things I want to talk about. Of course, I have to start off with, we do know the situation with Peter Yan and Aljamain Sterling. So I do see a lot of people giving him flack and all that. I do feel like it's kind of a fucked up bullshit, but that's how it is. Keyboard warriors, people want to sit behind the keys and talk shit all they want, but they would probably never say shit to anybody in front of their face. Other than that, that's just me complaining about that shit. Screw it, let's move on. But the one thing that is starting to upset me, I did start noticing the photos going around of him and Henry Cejudo facing off, which I think, Aljo, my main thing for you is, man, I know you want to make a lot of money, but we have to hash out this shit with Peter Yan. Don't talk about any other matches. Henry Cejudo, please just stay out this shit. Just let Peter and Aljo go at it, and let's get the stamp on who should be the champion, and then we can start talking about the other matches. And really, if Henry wants to step back in, I would really rather see him go up against Cody Sandhagen. Let's see you go up against that match. I don't think Cejudo is going to be able to really take out Sandman. I think Cody would be a dominant fighter in that match. But we will see. That is just how I see it going right now. I really think it's screwed up for Cody the Sandman Sandhagen. I really would like to see him be fighting for that title, and I thought it was going to be him and Aljo. We'll see how it goes. Hopefully that fight gets booked soon and Cody doesn't have to take up another match. But if you do hear Cody's about to take up another match, I wouldn't be surprised if it's going to be against TJ. Now, with that out the way, guys, we have to get to, of course, the PFL is going to be starting back up soon. They have a headliner card with Roy McDonald. Not exactly sure what date they were saying, but their season's about to start kicking off. I think it's going to start kicking off in April. Can't wait for those matches. And soon in April, we're going to start the Grand Prix for the light heavyweight division, which the first match is Anthony Johnson and Yoel Romero. Good God almighty, I can't wait for that fight. Understand I'm going to be doing a lot of breakdowns on also the Bellator fights for those ones as we get into those Grand Prix matches. Other than that, guys, it's pretty much all I got. Like always, if this is your first time here, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And also do me a favor, mash the like button so we can beat that YouTube algorithm and we can get the Filthy Report out there so everybody can start listening to Fight Talk. Also, click the bell. Click the bell. You guys will find out when I drop my next episode. And you guys can also check out my other show that's on the channel, Let's Get Geek, where I talk about everything from anime, manga, comic books, TV shows, video games. If it's something to deal with geek, I'm talking about it. So go ahead and check it out, guys. And like always, if nobody loves you, I love you. I am Jason Filthy Jones, bringing you the dirtiest information with the cleanest style. Peace.